Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I want to give a massive shout out to the engineering diploma students tuning in today. Our mission for this session is simple. We're going to master pyrometers. Maximum clarity, zero unnecessary jargon. We are taking the complex physics of industrial temperature measurement and breaking it down into something you can instantly grasp and actually use on the shop floor. So, let's get into it. Okay, picture this. You're standing on the floor of a massive steel rolling mill, or maybe a glass manufacturing plant. Right in front of you is a vat of molten metal or glowing glass that's easily hitting 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You absolutely have to know the exact temperature to keep your product quality in check. But here's the catch. You obviously can't just stick a regular contact thermometer in there. I mean, it would literally vaporize, right? Plus, it's incredibly dangerous. You're dealing with moving targets, corrosive gases, and just unapproachable intense heat. So how do we solve this high-stakes industrial problem? Enter our hero for today, the pyrometer. By definition, a pyrometer is an instrument specifically designed to measure high temperatures from the thermal radiation a heated body emits. And the absolute most crucial part of this definition, it does it without requiring direct physical contact. This concept of indirect measurement is basically the magic key. It lets you, as an engineer, accurately capture extreme temperatures from a totally safe distance. So here is our roadmap for today. 1. The extreme heat problem. 2. Types of radiation pyrometers. 3. Core principle. 4. Construction layout. And 5. Working operation. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the extreme heat problem. In industrial processes, you generally rely on two measurement methods. Direct measurement is what we usually do, like putting a ruler up to a mechanical part to check its length. You're measuring it directly against a standard. But when things get insanely hot, direct measurement goes completely out the window. And that brings us to indirect measurement. This is where we figure out the temperature by measuring related physical variables. For extreme heat, we literally just measure the radiant energy, or the brightness of the light shooting off that glowing object. That's the secret to reading 3,000 degrees.
Moving right along, Section 2, Types of Radiation Pyrometers.
If we map out the family tree of these devices, you'll see they generally fall into three main categories for industrial use. We've got lens type, mirror type, and photoelectric pyrometers. Every single one of these captures radiant energy from a hot target, but they use different mechanics to focus that energy. Let's do a quick comparison before we zoom in on our main topic for today. Check out the setup on the screen. The top one, the lens type, uses a physical glass lens to concentrate that radiant energy directly onto a thermopile. Now look below it at the mirror type. This one uses a diaphragm system and a mirror to focus the radiation. The mirror type is actually super clever because it completely avoids the slight absorption and reflection errors you get when light tries to pass through a solid glass lens. But honestly, in both cases, the goal is exactly the same. Funnel that intense radiant heat onto a sensitive receiver, the thermopile, to generate a signal we can actually measure. Okay, let's get to the main event. Section 3. Optical Pyrometer, Core Principle. The coolest thing about the optical pyrometer is that it operates on a surprisingly relatable concept. It's all about matching brightness. Think about when you adjust your phone's screen brightness to match the lighting in the room so it doesn't hurt your eyes. You tweak it until it blends perfectly, right? Well, an optical pyrometer does the exact same thing. It compares the radiation, or brightness, from your target surface to a tiny, calibrated standard lamp built right into the device. Because the human eye is ridiculously sensitive to differences in brightness, an operator can make a match between these two light sources to within 1% accuracy. It's wild. Now, how do we actually achieve that brightness match? Our sources highlight two primary methods. Method 1, you vary the intensity of the standard lamp itself by changing the electrical current running through its filament. You just dial it up or down. Method 2, you keep the lamp totally constant, and instead you slide an absorbing optical wedge up and down. Because this wedge has a variable thickness, it acts like a dimmer switch for the incoming light from the furnace, changing its intensity until it perfectly matches the lamp. All right, let's tear this thing apart and look under the hood. Section 4, Optical Pyrometer, Construction Layout. This schematic right here is a classic design. It's the Leeds and Northrop Company Optical Pyrometer. On the right, imagine your target surface, like that vat of molten metal. A lens focuses that radiation straight onto a diaphragm. Right dead in the center sits our standard lamp, and over on the far left is the eyepiece, where you look in. Notice how the eyepiece, the standard lamp, and the incoming radiation all line up perfectly in a straight row? That's the operator's line of sight.
Let's quickly summarize those key components. You've got your lens and diaphragm to focus the target's light. You've got your standard tungsten lamp acting as your baseline. Then there's the slide wire and rheostat circuit, which is really just the electrical setup to adjust the current to that lamp. But guys, the absolute most important component here is the eyepiece, specifically because it's fitted with a red filter glass. This red filter restricts the visible light to a very specific, nearly monochromatic wavelength of about 0.65 micron. This guarantees the operator is only looking at one super specific band of red light, which makes the brightness comparison incredibly accurate.
Time to put it to work. Section 5. Optical Pyrometer. Working operation. So, how does this all come together as an actual procedure on the shop floor? It's pretty simple. Step 1, you sight the pyrometer tube directly at your glowing target. Step 2, close switch S, which flips on your standard lamp. Step 3, you adjust the slide wire contactor, which changes the current going to the lamp. And step 4, you just watch the filament until its brightness perfectly matches the target behind it. The second they match, you look at your electrical reading, and boom, you have your temperature. The whole thing takes maybe a few seconds. So what does the operator actually see when they look through that red filter? Look at those 3 visual states at the bottom. On the left, that's the low state. The lamp current is too low, so the filament just looks like a dark black line against the super bright furnace. On the right, the high state. The current is cranked too high, so the filament is a bright glowing arch standing out from the background. But that middle circle, the null state, that is the Goldilocks zone. You adjust the dial until the filament's brightness perfectly matches the background, causing the tip of the filament to completely disappear. When it vanishes, you've locked in the exact temperature. I absolutely have to highlight this quote from the source material because it's just a fantastic piece of engineering design. Because of the red filter, color blindness of an operator does not affect the operation. Think about that. Since the device uses that nearly monochromatic 0.65 micron red filter, the user isn't matching colors at all. They are strictly matching intensity or brightness. It brilliantly removes human visual limitations from the equation. That means literally any trained operator can get a highly accurate reading regardless of their color vision. It's so smart. We've seen just how elegant and effective this manual, eye-dependent tool is. But as you guys look forward to your careers in engineering, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. As industrial processes shift more and more toward full closed-loop automation, how are manual tools like the optical pyrometer going to evolve? Are they going to be entirely replaced by advanced photoelectric sensors and machine vision? Or will there always be a critical need for a reliable, human-verified standard? It's a massive consideration for the next generation of process control. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep exploring the incredible world of industrial instrumentation.